Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Wood Elves, going to be taking on the Tomb Kings, so let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. My army is going to be led by a Glady on a horse out here. She's got just the Prey of Anathrema, the essential ability with her. And only that for a nice cheap loadout. In terms of infantry, we've got 4 units of Eternal Guards, 2 here and 2 here. We've also got 3 Spear Dancers, one's up front, and this is a Sword Dancer in the back. 4 units of Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts, which are a must pick against the Tomb Kings. Because Tomb Kings Lords are weak to fire damage, everyone outside of Kotep, the fire armor piercing damage of the Starfire Shafts is going to be very, very powerful against them. You've also got the Branch Wraith for healing and melee attack buff, no Penumbral Pendulum this time, and the 2 units of Sisters of Thorn, one of which is currently tied up with a couple of Tomb Scorpions here, the other one is firing at those Carrion over on the far side. So for my opponent, he does have that unit of Carrion, these 2 Tomb Scorpions here, 2 Nehekar Warriors out on the flanks with the Kepler Guard in the center, 2 units of Ushabti, 2 units of Ushabti Great Bows. Arkhan the Black is the Lord with Spirit Leech, Fate of Unit, Soul Blight, his sword, and the Liber Mortis. We've also got a unit of Sepulchral Stalkers. So, let's go ahead and kick this into full gear, and we'll kind of talk about this matchup a little bit. I do think that this is one of the hardest matchups for the Tomb Kings, if not the hardest matchup, and we'll kind of talk about why. First things first, Eternal Guards, obviously, the basic, cheapest unit for the Wood Elves, do have anti-large armor piercing, 20 armor piercing damage, which is pretty solid, honestly. 15 bonus versus large. Likewise, War Dancers with Azrai Spear also have anti-large armor piercing. The fire arrows from the Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts we've already talked about. And the fact that War Dancers with swords can cut through most Tomb King's infantry relatively easily. They also can bring healing. Prey of Anathrema is super strong. Sisters of Thorn and Wild Riders will make mincemeat of Tomb King's infantry as well. So it's overall a very tough matchup for the Tomb Kings. So we'll watch how my opponent does here. We'll kind of talk about some things in the end as well. So first things first, these Tomb Scorpions are going to be trying to attack the formation over on this side. But again, anywhere these guys go, there's going to be anti-large armor-piercing troops to answer them. So although the Tomb Scorpions won't take a lot of hits because of the nature of their animations, they are going to take a lot of damage, in melee over a sustained amount of time from these anti-large armor-piercing troops. You can see the damage start to coming in a little bit here and there. Meanwhile, Ushabti charging into War Dancers with Azrai Spear. Again, going to be a pretty rough situation for the Ushabti. This unit of Sisters of Thorn here did get hit with a Fate of Unit. We got a quick charge on this unit of Nehekar Warriors, and then pulled right through the infantry to try and stay away from those Sepulchral Stalkers. Arkhan is using his ability here. We honestly should be targeting these Starfire Shafts on Arkhan at the moment. I'm going to fix that temporarily, but I just wanted to try and finish off these Tomb Scorpions as quickly as possible, because I am not a fan of these guys at all, especially fighting them. But we are going to switch targets over onto Arkhan in a moment, and you guys will see just how much damage these Starfire Shafts actually do to him. You can see over on this side, these Nehekar Warriors that had taken that charge from the Sisters of Thorn are going to be suffering very badly here to these Eternal Guards and War Dancers with Azrai Spear, and Arkhan charging in the front line here, going to be pulling back, but we are now going to switch the Starfire Shafts all to target him. So let's watch as his health just starts to plummet here from these Starfire Shafts. You can see he's taking a ton of damage. The arrows, honestly, 25% extra damage on armor-piercing arrows is going to be very powerful. You can see Arkhan's running for his life, trying to get out of range of those Starfire Shafts until his other units can inundate them, which is exactly what he wants to be doing. I'm going to try and reposition my Starfire Shafts in such a way that we can keep shooting at him. Meanwhile, in the center pocket here, the Kepler Guard and these Nehekar Warriors are going to suffer pretty badly, honestly, to the War Dancers, especially getting buffed, by the Branch Wraith here. Soul Blight will reduce their weapon damage, but the Armor Sundering isn't going to do a whole lot against the Wood Elf Infantry either. So I'm not really a big fan of that spell in this particular matchup. I do think the Spirit Leech and Fate of Unit from Arkhan are very useful, obviously. You can see Arkhan's trying to come back. It's going to be pretty risky, though. I do have another Prey of Anathrema in my pocket that we're going to be dropping here, and then immediately just opening up with all the Starfire Shafts, as well as the Glady's bow herself. She did just take a Spirit Leech there, but you can see now the Daka coming in, all those Starfire Shafts, There's no way Arkhan can stand up to this kind of fire here, and he does go down. So with that leadership support gone, you can see the Tomb King's units already starting to crumble, so the anti-large armor piercing start to just disintegrate even that much faster. These Nehekar warriors will be gone relatively soon, as will the Kepler Guard. The Kepler Guard, again, have the basic regeneration stat, which does mean they're weak to fire. So because they don't have the missile block chance, they will take a ton of damage from Starfire shafts as well. Going to be inundating these Bow Shopti with the Sisters of Thorn, and at this point my opponent is going to admit defeat. It's pretty far out of reach for him at that point, just waiting for things to disintegrate. So a very rough matchup for the Tomb Kings, you know, at least as far as their traditional armies go. We can kind of talk about some things in just a minute here, but for myself, I mean, the Glade Guards with Starfire Shafts didn't get a whole lot of kills, but they just gibbed Arkhan completely, so very rough stuff there. Sisters of Thorn were nice in dropping their support buffs and getting some early charges and such, but really the MVPs here are the War Dancers with the Azrai Spear and the Eternal Guards, just dealing a ton of armor-piercing anti-large damage in the front line. 50 kills on the Sword Dancers as well. They'll definitely cut through most Tomb King's infantry, no problem. For my opponents, just most of his stuff had pretty rough engagements there. Only the Kepler Guard really got some good work done, but let's go ahead and talk about this matchup in a little bit more depth here. We can kind of theory craft a little bit. This isn't a matchup I've played too much as the Tomb Kings. I have played a few matches, not as many as I would like, but just kind of theory crafting here a little bit. The only Tomb King's Lord who's not weak to fire damage is Katep. That being said, he's got relatively low armor and not the best combat stats, but if we put him on the Skeleton Chariot, he gets up to 95 armor. You could put him on the Casket of Souls as well. That is also going to give him 80 armor, but a lot less mobile. Chariots in general are also pretty decent against Wood Elf infantry, so I would say bringing him on the Skeleton Chariot is probably a relatively safe bet. Definitely bring the Sandstorm and all his other abilities. In terms of spells here, the physical resistance is going to be pretty nice, and I would also recommend bringing the Vortex spell just so that you can put out some additional damage with him. You can get quite a bit of Winds of Magic. The Lich Staff is going to be pretty decent. It affects all units map-wide, so like Sisters of Thorn or the Glady, for example, you can put a ability recharge on all their abilities every time you cast a spell. That's going to be very, very efficient. You could even bring this other weapon damage buff if you wanted to. Something like this, though, with Katep, because he's not flammable and he still has decent armor. I mean, you are going to have to watch out for Preavana Threma and, you know, Way Watchers and Starfires still. But then, in terms of infantry, I'd probably go with 4 Tomb Guard in the center. The Nehekar warriors, although they don't have a missile block chance, aren't too bad if brought in good enough numbers. Then we'll pad out with some skeleton spears, a nice wide infantry line, because Tomb Guard are pretty decent against low armored targets. They also have that really nice missile block chance. They should be able to do fairly well against the Wood Elf infantry here. And then we probably want to take some Nehekar horsemen, or maybe a couple of skeleton chariots. Then we can kind of pad out with some of these cheaper skeleton horsemen just to chase things down. This build is going to be pretty vulnerable to things like Wild Riders and Sisters of Thorn, but you don't typically see too many of those. You might see, you know, 2 to 3 in a battle, and something like this, I do think you might have the tools to deal with it. You could even go ahead and bring this Incantation of Vengeance to help deal with Wild Riders as well. You know, you can kind of play with Katep's spell loadout a little bit here. But yeah, something like this. The Chariots do a ton of shock damage to Wood Elf infantry. They are relatively squishy, but if you can keep them alive, they will just run shop on all the infantry. Tomb Guards are very good. Nehekar warriors, I kind of see where they were going with that. I don't think they're the best in this matchup, but they can definitely get some work done. But something more like this, where you pretty much forego constructs completely against the Wood Elves, just because their armor-piercing missiles are so brutal, and you know, the fire damage means that Katep is really probably the best lord choice in this particular matchup. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What Tomb King's army would you take against the Wood Elves? Have you played this matchup at all, and what do you think? Let me know your thoughts. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day. The first round of the 2v2 tournament, the King of the Tomb tournament, that's over. That the first 2 matches that I showed, that's it. So there aren't going to be any more matches until Turin gets back, I don't think. I don't know. I may arrange. I'm supposed to be playing Janet on occasion and Gabo King. Myself and Lore Master Sotek, that's our next matchup. So we'll see. We'll see if we can arrange something to play before Turin gets back from Poland. Obviously, he's in Poland right now, and since he's kind of the organizer of the tournament, we may need to wait for him to get back to play that match. We'll see. I'll try and talk to Gabo King and Janet, and if I can get a hold of Turin himself, him as well, and we'll kind of see what they think. Maybe we'll be able to get those other 2v2 matches in before, next week, but no promises there. Stay tuned for more regardless, and we'll see you next time.